All right, Jonathan, you're up.
Okay, great. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to CAI's virtual education seminar. This morning, we are covering reopening community pools. Our speaker, Peter Clark, is very qualified, and we're going to introduce him in a minute. But we wanted to, first of all, just say good morning to all the members who are in attendance. I am Jonathan Clark. I'm honored to serve as the Education Committee Chair for the Houston chapter of CAI. We have already hosted many informative seminars this year, and we're planning many more as we kind of get through COVID, hopefully, and we're making good strides there. We're going to continue with a virtual format, but also we're going to be having some in-person seminars as well. We'll be kind of mixing those together and trying to strike a good balance of having in-person meetings and the convenience of virtual meetings as well. So we look forward to many more of these coming up. I'd like to thank Jesus, first of all, for all of his hard work in directing the chapter and getting these webinars put together. I could never handle the technology the way he does. So thank you, Jesus. And I would also like to thank the committee members, the education committee members, and I'm going to just quickly call out their names and ask each one of them to give a short shout out. So I think they're all on the call, and on my screen I only have 9, so I don't know if I'll be able to see y'all or not, but Sipra, can you say hello to the group? Okay, I think Sipra's on there, or maybe she's not been able to log on yet. Teresa, can you say hello to the group?
Hi guys, I'm Teresa Cox. I'll be talking to you a little bit more in a minute.
Okay, great. Lucy Robertson, can you say hello to the group? All right, Jeff Kettler, are you on the call? All right, and I do see Jake. Jake, can you give a quick shout?
Absolutely. Hey, everybody, I'm Jake Lightfoot.
Okay, well, that's the current education committee, and I am grateful to have a committed group and a lot of talent with the education committee. We'll be bringing more seminars here in the near future. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jesus.
Yes, excuse me. Who's that? Let me mute the person. Just a reminder, if you unmute yourselves, if you're unmuted, please mute yourselves. We want to recognize today's sponsors. We're going to start. We have 2 of them. Our first is Cox CPA and Teresa Cox. She's going to say a little bit about our company. They are a bronze sponsor and a partner and do so much with the chapter. So we appreciate your support, Teresa, and what you guys do for us. I'll hand it over to you.
All right, sure thing. Yeah, I am Teresa Cox with Cox CPAs, and otherwise known as your Lone Star Bean Counters. If you've seen us before live in person at these types of events, we normally play a little interactive game and reward you for participating, but that's really hard to do remotely. We've done it before, but it's really hard. So we'll get that going again once we're live and in person. But in the meantime, we hope that when you see the color purple, or if you need an audit bid, that you will think of us, Cox CPA Services. And enjoy your webinar. And back to you, Jesus.
Thanks, Teresa. Our next sponsor is Appfolio, and I'm going to play a short video. And let me go. I'm sorry, let me do this here. Oops. I apologize. I'm a little bit challenged here. Oops, new share. Where did that video go? Here we go.
Today's homeowners and board members want digital experiences. However, many community association management businesses don't have a cloud-based technology system in place. With the right tools, community association managers are able to provide their customers with a standout experience, while also streamlining their communications and maximizing efficiency. Appfolio Property Manager is an all-in-one solution on a cloud-based platform that enables you and your teams to work from anywhere, whether that's in the office, in the field, or at home. For accountants, you will be happy to know that Appfolio is built on a robust accounting platform, keeping all of your financials, reporting, and recordings for your associations in one place. Additional functionality like bank integrations, smart bill entry, and automated AP take much of the busy work off of your plate, giving you time to focus on the future of your business. Completely mobile functionality provides access to the same data, reporting, and workflows from your computer, phone, or tablet, allowing you to keep a pulse on your business from anywhere at any time. And Appfolio doesn't just benefit managers. Homeowners can use the convenient mobile app to submit common area maintenance or architectural requests without the need to visit the office or even make a call. They can simply upload the specs of their project with a description, and it will be submitted to the board or architectural committee for review. Appfolio also streamlines communications. Send text and emails to individual homeowners or to entire associations, and keep historical records of all conversations. Additionally, a built-in automated mailing service allows you to send physical mail to your residents in a few clicks. Keep homeowners informed and engaged with Appfolio's online portal. Paying dues and assessments and making architectural and maintenance requests has never been easier. Through simple online tools accessible in their portal, boosting customer satisfaction while saving your team time. And board members, they get all that functionality in their online portal with the added ability to approve invoices, maintenance and architectural requests, and communicate in-app about association business, all within a system of record for easy historical tracking and management. With Appfolio, you get more than a software solution, you get a trusted partnership. We listen to what our customers are saying to ensure our products anticipate their needs and the industry's. Our teams work around the clock to innovate and bring enhanced features and functionality to the product, so it's always cutting edge and never outdated. Want to transform your community association? We're ready to help you get started.
All right, thank you, Appfolio. I think Brittany's on the call. She may submit her info in the chat. Thank you, everyone. You know, the chapter operates so dependent on our sponsors, and not only are they premium sponsors of the chapter, but they are also sponsored this webinar. So thank you, Cox CPA and Appfolio. With that, Jonathan, let's see, you want me to cover the upcoming events and housekeeping items, or did you want to go over that?
Jesus, if you'll cover those, that'd be great.
Okay. All right, so upcoming events real quick before we get into the presentation. Tomorrow, if you are a community manager, HOA board member, we have a manager to manager chat. I'll put the link in the chat. Feel free to log on to that. It's business partners. Unfortunately, this one's not for you, but we'll get you on the next one. Again, you can check out our website, but I'll put that in the chat. June 9th, we're having a happy hour at Molly's Pub up in Spring. So information is coming soon. That's going to be an afternoon. I believe it's a 4 to 6 or a 5 to 7. So please be on the lookout. As we get to the presentation, a couple housekeeping items. Submit your questions via the chat, and we will answer them as we go along. We'll also keep time at the end for a Q&A. The seminar is pending review for 1 CE credit. So for you CMCAs out there, keep an eye out for that. We'll get that information over to you. CAMICB is a little bit behind on approvals, but we'll get that as soon as we can. Also, this is being recorded, and we'll upload this to our YouTube channel afterwards, so please be on the lookout for that email once we send it after today. With that being said, Jonathan, I'll hand it back over to you to introduce our speaker.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jesus. Looking forward to all those upcoming events. Today, we are honored to have Peter Clark, who is the President and General Manager of Aquatic Management of Houston, speak. He's going to bring us all kinds of important tips about how to reopen pools, and also in particular, now that we're still kind of in the COVID situation. So Peter is a certified pool operator and is the President and General Manager of Aquatic Management of Houston. He has over 30 years of pool management and coaching experience, which began in Sydney, Australia, which will become apparent when he starts to speak as we hear his accent. This is really cool. He coached the 1999 Pan Pacific swim team and the 2001 Australian World Championship swim team. Prior to 2012, Peter was the field support director for the pool management group. During this time, he served as interim general manager and lead backup for pool repair and renovation work at several local companies. So Peter's clearly well qualified for this topic. And if y'all will just virtually join me in welcoming Peter. And Peter, we'll turn it over to you.
Hey, thank you. my head grew bigger right there. Listen to that. It's been a long time. What I've done is the Texas Health Code is 109 pages, and I've tried to go through it and just get some information that relates directly to the operation of HOA swimming pools during the 101 days of glorious summer that all the pool companies love. Some of it you're going to find very boring. Some of it you might be very interested in. There's some items in there that are new rules for this year that the health inspectors are looking for when they do permits. There's some stuff in there that's been there, I guess, for a long time, which I never even noticed until I started reading it more detailed. But hopefully you won't go to sleep while you're listening to this, but we'll get to the end. I've got some ideas on reopening the pools with COVID. I mean, a lot of the pools opened last year anyway, but everything's changed since then. You all know with the CDC that they can't make up their mind. They're changing their minds every other week. So it's very hard to get a CDC update, but we've gone back to Code Orange, whatever that means in Harris County. I don't think anyone was paying much attention to any of that anyway, judging by the amount of traffic and people out. And we'll have some questions. I've got some questions here, good questions, and hopefully we can get something out of it. So whenever you're ready there, Jesus, we can click over.
All right, there we go.
Basically, most HOA pools qualify as a Class C pool, and if you must have basically a minimum of 2 lifeguards. It used to state that you need 1 lifeguard and a second responder, but now they're saying 2 lifeguards. I have reached out to the Texas Department of Health and Harris County to clarify that, and of course, no one will put anything in writing. So right now, we make sure that we have 2 certified lifeguards who have got accreditation or certifications at the pool at all times whenever it's open. One of the big ones that I noticed this year when I started reading the new rules that came out on January 1 was that any pool guards must have an AED with adult and pediatric or child pads and bag valve masks or BVMs, one for an adult and one for child. And the inspectors, it's not on the Harris County checklist yet, but they are noting it and they're writing it down and making sure that you're aware that schools need to have them. That being said, I don't think the pool will get shut down or not permitted this year for not having it. But from a liability and legal standpoint, if there was an incident at the pool and we found out that the health code said you were have them, then they might as well just hand that over to the attorneys and let them have at it. Because from a risk management standpoint, I think that every HOA pool should look at making sure they've invested in that and have it at the pool for the lifeguards to use. Lifeguards are all trained to use that stuff. It's all in the Red Cross training or any other type of training they do. Okay. There's just the classifications for the pools. Most of the time you can just ignore Class A and Class B. Class C, property owners associations or clubs. And when you do have lifeguards, basically you got to have a plan, you have them scheduled, copy of the plan. I mean, this is all stuff directly from the health code. I just cut and pasted it. I tried to make it too boring for you, but all of this stuff, they are taught when they do their Red Cross class, and pool management companies go out of their way to make sure that they do site training and that all the lifeguards are familiar with the facilities they work at. You know, their zones or the surveillance area, and they make sure they don't have any other duties which could distract them. We'll get into a little bit that later on with the COVID discussion. It's got to do with the extra, or the way I looked at it was the extra duties that a lot of customers expected lifeguards to do last year, which distracted them from their primary duty, which is the safety of the pool and rules enforcement. So we can get into a little bit of that later.
Well, you're sitting on top of 20,000 gallons chlorinated water. So I'm on 1% chlorine.
Okay, so training and drills. I mean, we do pre-season training. I mean, all companies do. When I say we, I'm talking, you know, generally everyone, not trying to do a sales pitch here. In service, the wording of this wouldn't be clarified to me either, but it says a minimum of 60 minutes for every 40 hours worked. Now, the way we used to read it was you had to do 60 minutes every hour, every once a week. They won't let me know whether it's 60 minutes of training for every 40 hours they actually work. So if a lifeguard, most lifeguards will only work between 20, 30 hours a week. Track of that. So we just, right now, we're just making them do the 60 minutes every week just to stay on top of it. Everyone has a fecal response policy. And especially with the COVID situation, you really had to keep a good record of that. Because this time last year, no one was 100% sure how it could be spread, where it could be spread through what. They were pretty sure by this time last year that it couldn't spread through chlorinated water, and UV outside was a key for it. But it was very important to keep a fecal and vomit log last year for that. And audits. I mean, everyone does their own safety audits. Next. Okay, like I said, this kind of stuff. This is where I first noticed, I left it highlighted yellow just so I wouldn't forget it. This is where I first noticed when I read it, they said location of an OSHA compliant first aid kit. You can buy them pretty well anywhere. First aid suppliers, Amazon, they've got everything in it you need to be at the pool, and the rescue equipment, such as the bag valve mask and the AED and the backboard, needs to be accessible now for the lifeguards to get to. So I understand that AEDs are expensive and all that kind of stuff is expensive. And the last thing you want to do is have it sitting in a pump room or just sitting in a lifeguard room. But it can't be locked up in a clubhouse that the lifeguards don't have access to. They need to be able to get to it. So it's all about training and making sure that they don't play with it or remove it unless they absolutely need it. And it needs to be accessible to them. There. I'm not very good at putting these together, folks. I apologize. Next. Basically, you should keep the records. The health department might ask for you to send them copies of the lifeguard certifications. I don't know how they know who's working at what pool, but you don't actually have to keep it at the pool. But if the health department asks for it, you're supposed to send it over to them. And the in-service training records just to show that you're doing it and who did it. There it is. The lifeguards need to have access to that OSHA compliant first aid kit and at least one portable AED and one bag valve mask kept in a secure location. It has to be able to be accessed by the lifeguards. They can't be running around trying to break doors down or not locate it. When I say we, I mean, we sold ours, we put them in a big red duffel bag. We call it a trauma bag. And everything is in that. So the lifeguards know exactly what it is and where it is. And it's just kept up on a shelf in the lifeguard room. And like I said, explain to them that it's not a toy. You don't take it out when it's a cold, wet day just to see if the pads work. Because once you've used the pads, they're no good anymore and they're expensive. A lot of this stuff is just standard rules and policy, like a health code for lifeguards, what they need at the pool to work. Next, I guess. Yeah, I mean, uniforms, rescue tube, can't be torn. The lifeguards like to sit there and pick their rescue tubes apart to find out what's inside. It's foam. I know the customers hate that. All the pool management hate that because once it's been picked apart or the strap's torn, it's no good anymore. So every year when you get an invoice for a new rescue tube, that's why. And if you can come up with a way to stop lifeguards picking at their tubes, let us know. All of them carry a hip sack with their resuscitation mask. I think part of the health code of introducing the bag valve masks is also to help with reducing the amount of contact that the lifeguards would have to make doing resuscitation. Use use the bag valve mask instead of having to put their face down, even if they do have a one-way valve on their resuscitation mask. And obviously the whistle to communicate to the pool people in the pool and the other lifeguards, which they all think is really loud until they. All right, so this year they also changed some of the rules on signage. Now the good news is, unless you're replacing a sign or putting a new one up, or one blew away in the off season, you kind of grandfathered in. So especially with the 911 phones, because they increased the letter size that needed to be on them. A lot of you have On Guard, or I think it's Kings, and they have their own little signs they put up there. They don't meet the new requirements, but if the signs are already there, they're not failing. They're just putting down a note that will need to be replaced in the near future. I'm having trouble seeing the right side of the screen, but it has the sizes of the letters. When you get a sign that says, "In case of emergency, dial 911," and it has to have 4-inch letters, it's a big sign, which dwarfs the actual size of the phone. But basically, you're grandfathered in on any of that kind of stuff. There are some signs which I've never been worried about, but they are looking for this year, which is on the next page. Hopefully it worked. I had that. There we go. A lot of these rules might have already been on your general pool rules that are specific for the pool, or just generic for the state of Texas. But the diarrhea one, that one used to be around a lot of splash pads, but it's supposed to be there now in the minimum letters. The diapers, the same thing. And the one that says persons under the age of 14, when I checked into that, the owners of the pool or the HOA can come up with their own age for that, but there has to be wording on there somewhere that. Sorry? 14 from what I'm.
Whatever the one I sent to you.
I'm sorry, this is
14, I was told by her name's getting off, but at state of Texas Health Department, 14 was just the suggested age for them. A lot of my customers have 12, 16, 18. I mean, what's an adult? Your lifeguards can be 15. If you make it 18 for a kid who's under the age of 4, that's kind of weird if you make it 18. And then the extended breath holding, it's been proven over the last few years, and we've been putting signs up for years about prolonged breath holding activities are dangerous. People have underlying medical conditions and can have seizures and all kinds of stuff. So that's another sign which they're looking for. A lot of the sign companies aren't making these yet. Just the ones you can just buy from your local pool shop. I think the guys that are doing the 911 signs, they need to be informed of the new requirements, so they don't keep pumping out those small signs with the 1-inch letters. But like I said, the good news is that they're mostly grandfathered in, and none of the pools that we've had permitted so far have been knocked back for anything other than the no lifeguard on duty, the no diving, and the 911 signs. So that's.
Peter, we have a couple questions I'm just seeing in the chat. One is, how do we know if a lifeguard is required for our pool?
That's a good question. I should know the answer. Basically, if you have one, you're not usually required to have a lifeguard, but if you have one lifeguard, you've got to have 2. So I've got pools that are junior Olympic size, which is swim at your own risk, and they're not required. But if they decide they want to have one lifeguard, they need to have 2, because you have to have that second responder there who is trained in the same certification as the other person that's there. But in a lot of other states, anything bigger than 2,000 square feet surface area, you need to have a lifeguard. But I mean, like I said, I've got pools that are junior Olympics, so 6 lane, 25 yards, and they just swim at your own risk. Only just go in 3 times a week and clean and adjust chemicals and that.
That's another question we got is, how how can a pool be designated as swim at your own risk?
That's up to the HOA and their attorneys to sit down and look at what kind of exposure they're going to set themselves up for, and what kind of waivers they can get residents to sign, and what kind of access system they have. Really, I mean, people want to get in the pool when it's closed, they're going to jump over the fence anyway. Oh yeah, there. Thanks, Darlene. Back to the original table. That Class C pools require lifeguards.
There you go.
Yeah, original slides. I've already forgotten about it.
Okay.
This is just, the next few slides is really probably going to be boring to you, and it just tells you what pool management companies or maintenance companies really are supposed to be doing day to day or during their maintenance visits at the pool, and what's required. I did get some questions earlier on from Jesus about chemical levels and a few things there. We'll hit them at the end, but we can probably get through this section pretty quick. We'll bore you to death, but basically, if you have a pool company, whether it's just maintenance only or a pool management company, someone there needs to have a decent certification. I just found out when I renewed my CPO that it's now the Pool and Hot Tub Alliance. I've been keeping up with that, but it used to be now. But most every pool company will have staff, and if it's year-round staff or supervisory staff, they'll all be certified as like an aquatic facility operator, certified pool operator, or the licensed aquatic facility technician. Basically, if you can't see the bottom of the pool clearly, don't open it. That's a no-brainer because lifeguards can't see anyone down there. One thing I did find out, I was getting a lot. I don't know why we had health inspectors going out in the middle of winter, but actually it was City of Houston inspectors for apartment pools that we do, and they weren't even open. The pools were just there; they weren't even being used, but they were hitting us for the chemicals being off. But in the off season, they do not have to meet the standards as long as the pool's clear and blue and there's no algae. Complexes just want to keep their pools looking. Next. One thing I found out last year was we have a lot of people who wanted to bring their companion pets to the pool. We would get calls from the lifeguard saying there's people in here with a dog, and I'd go over and try and be very polite and explain to them that you can't have your pets in here, and they would tell me they were companion animals. Companion pets need to be registered. You can't just grab a chihuahua and put it in a handbag and take it in the pool and say it's my companion. I can't without it. It needs to be registered. So if they're not registered, you just have to be diplomatic about it and polite and ask them to take the dog outside. Level, halfway up the waterline tiles. And then personal flotation devices like life jackets. Every pool company really, some provide life jackets, some don't. But any kind of flotation device on a child really needs to be Coast Guard approved. And there's a reason for that. And I won't go into all the details, but if the children can't swim or someone can't swim and they're wearing a lifeguard, a life jacket or a life vest, the parent should still be in the pool with them within arm's reach, because you should not be trusting Walmart for $29.95 with your child's life. Next. Basically just with store chemicals, manufacturer's instructions, somewhere safely. This is all stuff I just, it's kind of the rules they come up with. Food and beverages that can be consumed. Yeah, that's about it on that one. These are all going to be available, so you can all read them and snooze off later. Glass, obviously not allowed in the pool area, any kind of glass containers. And this was one I never noticed before. And Darlene, you might know, it's always been there, but there's nothing worse than trying to empty out a trash can that's full fill up with old food and a dirty diaper that didn't have a lid on it. But now the inspectors are actually looking that the trash cans that are out on the pool area have lids on them. So all those expensive green ones,
Okay, I think we may have lost. Oh, there you are. You're back, Peter. You may want to repeat that, the trash receptacles.
oh yeah, that's something that the inspectors have been making a note of this year, is that if the trash cans are out, my internet connection is unstable. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. It's just saying that I'm, yeah. So basically, trash cans, all those fancy green ones, the metal ones that have the nice round lid that look nice and tidy, they need to have a lid on them now, or move them up. They just, spreading diseases and all that kind of stuff, I guess. But that's something the inspectors have been making a note of on the permit inspections as well. They haven't shut anything down for it, but they're making a note. So that's new. Next. So some of the questions I got were about the required chemical levels. Do you want me to wait till the end to talk about that, Jesus? Or I mean, all I've got is a table here from the.
Yeah, that was fine.
Okay, so basically, the minimum for free chlorine in a pool is 1. Ideal is 2 to 3 parts per million. The maximum in Texas is 8 parts per million. So basically, if the pool, if the chlorine comes back higher than 8 parts per million, they should actually shut the pool down until you get it low enough. I don't know if anyone's got any hot tubs, but the minimum in a hot tub is 2 parts per million. The maximum is 8. Bromine in a pool is 3 parts per million. The maximum is 10. Combined chlorine, none is ideal. pH, it wants to be between 7.2 and 7.6. Now, there was a question came through, and I'll answer that now about, is there any kind of chemicals you can't use in an indoor pool? Yes, stabilized chlorine like trichlor tabs or dichlor. On an indoor pool, you can't use that. Any kind of stabilized chlorine you cannot be used in an indoor pool. Calcium hardness, you want to be somewhere around 150 to 400. 300 is usually pretty good. Algae, 0, obviously. And anyone who's running an automatic controller, the ORP doesn't want to be any higher than 750 to 900. What else is on there? What's that? I'm just looking at the questions I got to see if I've covered those. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. Well, there you go. Cyanuric acid should not be used. Cyanuric is stabilizer. So cyanuric acid should not be used in an indoor pool. We already talked about the clarity. Lifeguards, check the chemicals in the big pools, usually every 2 hours. In the baby pools, every hour, using test kits. The ORP readings, that's something you would get on a automated controller. It gives you an ORP reading instead of a chlorine reading. And as long as you've been calibrated properly and your probes are clean and the water's flowing through there well. That was another question. So automated controllers on the pools keep a steady level of chlorine and pH all day, rather than with tab feeders, which can start off, and depending on how quickly they're eroding inside the towers, up and down all day. So yes, chemical controllers are worth the investment. All the pools have test kits and reagents. Reagents, yeah, switch it, but they go through a 2-ounce bottle like once a month anyway. But then at the end of the year, we throw them all out and bring new ones out for next year. Lifeguards are all trained on how to test the chemicals. Most pool companies, their supervisors or their regional directors or account managers, they'll go around and do a full chemical check at least once a week. Keep all the records. We do ours electronically, and we keep the logbook at the pools. Lifeguards, like I said, they'll test it every 2 hours for the big pool, every hour for the baby pool. And actually, like when the account managers or the supervisors go around, they also check it. They don't rely on what the lifeguards are telling them. because lifeguards, as you know, are 15. The health department will check, if they come out during the season, they will check the logbooks. The last thing you want them to find is that the lifeguards haven't filled them in for the last 3 days. That's about the only problem we have there, or that they're accurate. And the cyanuric, which is the stabilizer. Some people, you probably notice sometimes during the year, if your pool is running on tabs only, your pool company will say we need to drain the water down to dilute the cyanuric level or the stabilizer level. That's really the only way you can do it, unless you spend a lot of money on a very expensive chemical that's come out in the last few years, which I don't think works very well. But if you get your stabilizer level way over 100, you will end up with kind of milky Powerade looking water that looks cloudy, and it's basically stabilizer lock or chlorine lock. So the chlorine's not doing anything, and just throwing more and more shock in the pool isn't going to help. So when your pool company says, on Monday, we're going to drain the pool down a third and refill it with fresh water, that's what they're talking about. And that is pretty standard if you're not using liquid chlorine. So don't freak out if that happens. This is what I've found so far this spring with the, we haven't had any hits from City of Houston yet. I guess they're just warming up, but with Harris County, we've done about 30 permit inspections. This is what they're looking for right now. So when your pool company calls you and says, we need to get this fixed, or we need to put this up, that's why, because the last thing you want is a re-inspection fee. First re-inspection fee is $200. And the second re-inspection fee, if you fail it a second time, is $350. So when your pool company calls you and says your 911 phone's not working, or you need some no diving signs, or pressure gauges, or this and that, they're not just trying to get money out of you. It's because the health department is trying to get money out of you, because they will put it down to be re-inspected, and they might not close the pool, but they will put it down for a re-inspection, and you will have to pay the $200 fee. But that's what they're looking for, that kind of stuff there. Okay. You know, this is just going off experience. It's nothing. I'm sure everybody had their own experiences last year, the other pool companies, everything with COVID, and every customer had a different procedure and what they wanted to do with opening and how many people they wanted at the pool and bookings and all kinds of stuff. But from what I can see, that the code orange isn't really much different from code red if you read the whole thing. But like I said, to me, it doesn't look like that many people in Harris County have been paying much attention to it since at least the governor comes out with removing the mask and the capacities. It is up to the business owner's decision. So if you think of your pool like HEB is still requiring customers to wear masks in there. If the HOA board decides that they want to make the residents wear masks when they enter and exit the pool and on the pool deck, then I think, and correct me if I'm wrong with the attorneys that are on here, but I think they can do that. And they can also set their own capacities and other rules for you know, the COVID situation. And this year it's all over the place. I've got customers with no furniture out, half the furniture out, all of the furniture out. But these are the things I had to make sure that they understood, that lifeguards this is what I was talking about earlier on about distracting the lifeguards. They're there for the safety and rules enforcement and to respond if there's an emergency. Lifeguards, especially 15, 16, 17-year-olds, should not be responsible for doing health checks, temperatures, they can get a waiver signed, but keeping those waiver records and keeping a record of who signed one and who hasn't. Lifeguards can't enforce distancing because they don't know who's from the same household unless they've lived in that neighborhood and they've been there all summer. The only thing we do is we recommend that our lifeguards wear masks at the sign-in counter, and if any of them have any symptoms, that we ask them to go and get a test. But CDC, like I said earlier, you can get on their website and click on links, and it goes to the state of Texas, and the state of Texas link goes to whatever county you want to go to, and then the county one goes back to the CDC, and no one's really, to me, no one really knows what's going on. They're all just coming up with their own, what do they call it, science. But all I can say is that this year is looking a lot better than last year with having a more normal summer. So that's what I'd say with, it's the HOA's decision whether they're going to limit furniture, limit the capacity. Are you going to allow pool parties? Are you going to allow swim lessons? Are you going to keep the restrooms like limited to one person or a family? And, a few of my customers asked me, can you get the lifeguards to sanitize the furniture? Lifeguards are doing enough during the day when it's hot to have to expect them to take note of who is using furniture, who's leaving, who's coming back, what's being, it's, you'll be very disappointed if you expect the lifeguards to be sanitizing furniture either during, before, or after use. And that's about, I think, all I got, isn't it, Jesus? I mean, there we go. Oh, the chlorine shortage. So do you want me to just answer these ones first and then
Sure.
go to the videotape, or what do we do?
No, if you want to go through these.
Okay, so to me, and people who know me will know where this is coming from, but I'm just guessing there is a shortage. There is a shortage on chlorine tablets. It's not catastrophic right now. You can get them. There wasn't any problems until about a month ago when the media jumped on it. And all of a sudden people started panicking, like they were trying to buy toilet paper, and we got limited to buying two 50-pound buckets a day from our suppliers, because the second or third day that the story came out, there was lines outside pool shops to buy chlorine tablets. The factory got destroyed in Hurricane Laura last October or November, whenever Laura came through. It's been happening for that long. The price has increased. It's gone up over 100% for 50 pounds. But you can get them. Now, if you're running your pool on liquid chlorine, I don't think there's no shortage on that right now. We get the chlorine suppliers in Houston haven't indicated to us anywhere that there's any problem with supplying liquid chlorine. There was another question about is a draining pool a good idea if you can't chlorinate it? If your pool company can't chlorinate your pool, draining is not really a great option. I mean, hydrostatic lifting is when the pool floats up out of the ground. That's not, well, after the rain the last few days, I'd be a bit concerned about draining a pool, but it doesn't happen that often. But you cannot let a pool just sit there and turn green, because it becomes a breeding ground for insects, mosquitoes, and it gets unhealthy. So if someone was to drive past the neighborhood pool and was sitting there green, I'm pretty sure the health department would get involved pretty quick. Are pools safe? Is it true you cannot catch COVID? Science says that chlorine kills it and that the UV kills it. So basically, last year we tried to educate our customers that going to the pool is one of the safest recreational activities you could do. I think on the meeting we did with the attorneys about 2 months ago, at that point in Texas, there was no one had claimed that they caught COVID at a swimming pool for the whole summer. And we have 16 partner locations around the country, and out of all of those pools, we've got about nearly 850, 900 pools we manage. We didn't have one person or one instance where they claimed they caught COVID from the swimming pool. Are all pools required to have a pool operating permit? In Harris County, yes, and that includes people that think they're private. I had some that were very surprised that they'd never had an inspection or never had a permit in 20 years who got hit last year. So yes, you're required to have a pool operating permit, but the health department is so far behind on checking those that you sometimes buy for 2 years without even getting inspected.
All right, looks like that was the, let me go through the chat here and see if we have anything. Jonathan, while I'm looking through it, do you mind answering Lucy's question out loud regarding the fair housing?
The question, I believe, I'm reverting, but the question I believe was that if you limit the age at which that children can swim in the pool, would that trigger fair housing issues? And the short answer is I don't know, but the further answer is I don't really think so. You're not prohibiting them from using the pool. You're just requiring that children of a certain age be accompanied by parents. And so I don't think that it would trigger an FHA issue, but I haven't researched it, so I'm not certain.
There I am. A couple other questions. Let's see. Can proof of vaccinations be required to enter the pool area?
So I guess that's the hot topic now. And I'm sorry, y'all, my answer again is gonna be, I don't know. This is gonna be a complicated legal question with regard to privacy concerning medical records and stuff. Obviously, we see this being discussed. I have not yet seen any establishments that are requiring proof of vaccination. I have heard, and I'm not even certain about the legality of this, that some employers may require vaccinations in order to perform certain duties. So I don't know the answer to that question right now. I do know that generally speaking, the owners have an easement to access the common areas, all right, which would include the pool and other amenities. Usually the association has the right to adopt rules and regulations for the use of the amenities. And so with regard to certain guidelines, precautions, or waivers, usually the association has that authority. But this is a pretty fine point on the vaccination issue. I know CIPRA is on the call, and CIPRA, if you'd like to weigh in, I'd be happy to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Oops, let me.
I think I got it. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, it's a tough question, and one that I think we're going to be grappling with. Our position really has been that possibly the association could require a person to show the vaccination card, but we would hesitate for the association to keep any documentation of vaccination records. So don't make a copy of it. Don't put a checkbox next to their name. Try to avoid collecting data that relates to someone's medical records.
Yeah, I think that's real good advice. And it's uncertain right now, but thank you, CIPRA.
Peter, another question, can you clarify the trash can lids? Is that required in restrooms, changing rooms, or is that just in the exterior near pool areas, pool decks?
Yeah, that's basically everywhere. Restrooms was always in there. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, it's just not allowing me to unmute. Yeah, restrooms, there was always lids. This was just something they've started looking for around the pool deck as well.
Okay. I think you answered the other questions that came in through your presentation. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question while we have our presenter here.
Do you want me to go through the ones you emailed me from earlier?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, pretty quick. We already answered a couple of them. Are automated chemical systems worth the investment? Yes, I think they are. They save everybody money on chemical costs, and they keep the chemicals at a more stable level the whole day instead of fluctuating up and down. What causes dark blue staining on plaster? Usually it's copper in the water. How to prevent it? Basically use a scale and copper removal product. There's a whole bunch out there, but usually dark blue staining is an indication that there's copper in there in the water. When does a pool or spa need to be replastered? Is it purely cosmetic or is it structural? It can be both. Old plaster, when it starts to delaminate, can get sharp and it can cut feet, and it looks very unattractive, and it is very, very hard to keep black algae out of when you're brushing it. It is aesthetics. I mean, how it looks, it can get to the point where it's structural, where it will start leaking. And the way that they, which is how do you test the pool if there's a crack in the gunite shell or the plaster? Usually the leak detection company would come in, turn all the pumps off and get in the pool with a dye and go along the cracks and basically watch and see if the dye was getting sucked out to the outside of the shell or whether it was just dissolving. Yeah, if you get big cracks in your pool, you will lose a lot of water through there. People are surprised when I send them the calculation on how many gallons a day they could lose on a junior Olympic pool when they lose 1 inch a day. That's when they suddenly decide that it might be a good idea to get leak detection in and fix the problem. How do you preserve the life of pumps and heaters? Well, heaters, when they're not being used in the off-season, well, it depends if the pool's open year-round or not, but bypass valves so that the water isn't continually flowing through the heater 365 days a year. That helps the heaters last longer. Not adding chemicals before the heater, so you're not running corrosive chemicals through the heater at any point, and making sure the pool chemistry is correct all the time. So the same deal, so you're not running corrosive chemicals. Pumps are getting more sturdy, but Houston was the first market really that I worked in where nearly every filter has its own pump, and they're basically 3 horsepower. And I don't think back in the day they were ever really designed to run 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. But motors are getting stronger, pumps are getting stronger, especially with the variable speed pumps that you can install now. You can get variable speed / flow, which basically means that when the filter's clean or in the off season, you can run them at a lower RPM and they'll do it automatically. And that helps save electricity as well as save the motors. But, you know, you can expect to get a proposal or a bill from your pool company. If you've got 3 or 4 pumps, small pumps in your pump room, you're going to be doing at least probably a motor or 2 every 12 to 18 months. What are the key actions of a regular maintenance company? I mean, just from experience, come out, check and adjust the chemicals, vacuum the pool, clean the tiles, empty the skimmer baskets, check the pump room, empty the pump basket, backwash, add water, clean the restrooms if it's included, restock the restrooms, empty the trash, straighten the pool deck furniture, blow the deck of leaves. That's the main thing, just maintenance and making sure that your equipment is well looked after and well looked after equipment and well-maintained equipment lasts a lot longer. And then what should the minimum qualifications for an HOA pool maintenance company be? Well, the insurance, obviously, and having someone who's running it and people that are coming to your pool that are certified pool operators who come out and are doing all the maintenance and everything on your pumps and filters and water chemistry. They kind of need to know what they're doing, otherwise you can end up with big water balance and algae and all kinds of things like that. And then what are the different types of algae? The ones we run into the most in Houston is mustard algae, which chlorine will not kill. You need to get a copper-based algicide to get rid of that. Green algae, obviously, which is basically lack of maintenance. The pool's not getting brushed enough, and the chlorine is not doing its job. You know, black algae, which is a pain. It's very hard to clean, especially if your pool has got delaminating plaster or it gets on the steps or in little nooks and crevices. And the other thing we get a lot of in Houston, and I don't know how many of you get this, but the phosphates. I've never been in any market where the phosphates get so high so quickly in some areas, whether it's from the water supply that's coming into the pool to fill it, or whether it's coming from rain and just the atmosphere and the environment around Houston with all the chemical plants. But phosphates, chlorine won't kill phosphates, and phosphates are algae food. So if you have high phosphates, your pool company will say that we need to treat these, and I would let them go ahead and treat it. Otherwise, you can come in one morning and the pool looked great the day before, and the very next morning it is yellow or green or cloudy. And phosphates, they're easy to get rid of. The chemicals aren't cheap to do it, but it's better than the alternative of having to shut the pool down for a few days just to clean it up again. The other questions we had was the ones that the attorney was just answering about. Yeah, it was the same, the vaccinations and all that kind of stuff. So that's the questions. Is there any more?
Yeah, one other question we have is, we have a pool chemistry monitoring and feeding system that includes ORP. The pool company is not recording the ORP. Should they be?
Yeah, that was part of the health code, is that you do have to record that. You test the chlorine with a normal test kit, and you write down the ORP, because the ORP can be adjusted to a different set point to get the chlorine higher or lower. But yeah, they should be checking that and recording it somewhere.
A quick question on the COVID issue. Should we be expecting all the lifeguards to be vaccinated, given that they could potentially be in close contact to a resident in the case of an emergency?
No, we can't force lifeguards to get vaccinated.
Well, some companies are encouraging all employees to be vaccinated. Is this not a common sense approach?
We can encourage it. We just can't enforce it. We can't tell 15, 16-year-olds who are minors to go and get something stuck in their arm. These guys are trained how to wear masks when they're in close contact, and how to resuscitate someone using a bag valve mask and a pocket mask. They're wearing gloves, and they've got sanitizer and all kinds of stuff at the pool. We had the pools operating. We didn't have any problems or anything last year. I don't think any pool companies had any problems last year, before we even had vaccinations available. We will encourage it. I mean, I've had mine, but we can't make it mandatory that they go and get vaccinated, considering a lot of them are only 15, 16 years old.
Cristiano Ronaldo is 36 years old.
Anybody have any other questions? There's a couple of questions here, and these are more, more opinion. Should pools reopen this season? Should HOAs not allow parties this year? Jonathan or Cipra, or Peter, you might chime in on that a little bit. No.
Well, we went to a lot of last year. A lot of my property managers and people that we don't even manage pools for, we sent out weekly updates starting around towards the end of March, as the situation changed so quickly last year, week by week. And so we sent updates out every week, showing customers how it was safe to open pools. And I'm not sure how other pool companies fared with the whole thing, with customers making decisions, because a lot of them based it on what their attorneys were telling them at the time. But we only had 4 customers didn't open their pool at all last year. I mean, it's all the information that we've got now that it's perfectly safe to open. But like I said, get legal advice. I mean, I'm not an attorney.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I think what we're saying is you kind of have to use your business judgment, work with the board, look at what the local health officials, the county, the city, any of those officials are saying about the threat level in your particular area. What I have found is, generally speaking, I think most of the associations have had a lot of good experiences with limiting occupancy through a reservation system. So, if that's been working, maybe there's not a reason to stop doing that, unless the board just doesn't want to fiddle with it, or you're getting a lot of backlash from your community on it. And we're also still suggesting the use of waivers prior to allowing people to use the pool. So that helps limit liability from the association's perspective. I don't know that there's not a reason to reopen, but I would still be cautious about reopening. Not everybody's vaccinated. Not all kids are vaccinated yet. And I still think, we've got some time left on how long this virus sticks around. Parties, I think same issue. you know, I sure don't think it's probably a good idea to be on the news where the pool is having a party of 200 kids, but maybe if you do it in a limited fashion, maybe if waivers are used. Also, we're recommending signage at pools and amenities to remind people, you know, that this virus is still out there. And while vaccinated people can pretty much do anything, you don't know who's vaccinated or not vaccinated. So you should still proceed with caution. I don't think you need to, associations shouldn't reopen pools, but I still think we're not done completely dealing with this issue.
I agree, and a lot of people were surprised at what 50% of capacity of a junior Olympic sized pool that isn't any deeper than 5 feet was last year, when they said when we finally went to 50% and they could have 100 people in the pool, or just over 100 people. Not many pools, HOA pools, get that busy anyway. But yeah, I agree. Just be careful. It's not like it's completely gone. We still got to be careful.
Any other questions? I think we're just a couple minutes over. All right. Thank you, Peter, Jonathan, Darlene helped on the chat, and Sipra for taking some questions.
Thanks, Darlene.
Thank you all. This presentation, again, it's being recorded, so we will actually, let me stop that.